When Washeke asked me to talk today, I knew that it was going to be a bit of a Herculean task because I'd, in the course of time, amassed a lot of information, a lot of facts, a lot of experiential training of what I do. And I wasn't sure how I was going to consolidate all that information into a 15-minute discourse. Yeah? But I'll give it a try. And beyond, I think Washeke will allow me to talk beyond trying to advertise or publicize the Centonomy course. And therefore, I'll be talking a lot more on the things that have come to amass with time. Because I must say that I'm privileged to have networked, talked to different people, being part of different organizations, that allows me to have a bit of an upper edge, you could say. And I'm Kenyan. I wanted to start by introducing myself. Douglas Macharia. I'm Kenyan, born and brought up in Nairobi. I actually grew up in Parklands for 25 years of my life around there, just next to Westlands. And I must say I was in a normal family. Actually, I would say that it was a bit on, we were 6 of us, 6 kids. My dad was a civil servant. My mom was a nursery school teacher. And therefore, I must say that there are many things that I did not enjoy in terms of being 6 kids all following up each other. I knew very well how to, the typical family of hand-me-downs and the like, so that was part of me. And one of the things that I learned from that experience was something that books will tell you is a technical term called inspirational dissatisfaction. There's a dissatisfaction in my life that inspired me. I wanted to come out of that kind of life, the life that was, that I was living in. The fact that we didn't have enough. I never went to the very best schools. Actually went through schools around there. I studied in City Primary School. I went on to Jamhuri High School, Jammu. Some of you watched Churchill live, and Vimalsha also is a past student of Jammu. Yeah, for those who know Jammu, it was known to be associated with rogue schools. People would go to play football and end up fighting each other in the other schools. And that was my life. But I learned something important, and that inspirational dissatisfaction allowed me to decide to do something to change my life. And I decided to take my studies very seriously. I thought I had to do something to improve my family. I wanted to improve the way my life, my siblings were living, and the way my parents were also living. And therefore, I took it very seriously to take a lot more effort into my studies. And but before I continue, I want to give a bit of a small structure of what I'll be talking about so that I also don't get lost myself. It's for my sake, not so much for your sake. And I'm going to divide it into 4 parts. I'll talk about my life before 2009. I have a reason why I want to say before 2009. My life between 2009 and Centonomy, just before Centonomy. Second part. The third part is during Centonomy and after Centonomy, number 4. So I'll start by explaining a bit about my life before 2009. I've already started by explaining precisely that, how my life was, and how I decided to take seriously my seriousness. And at that point, I think the only thing I wanted to do was more of a spiritual kind of assistance to my family and my people closest to me. I wanted to be a good person. I'm a good person deep down, and I wanted to reach out to my closer siblings and family to try and improve their lot. And now fast forward to mid-2009. Between 2009 and before, I'll explain a bit about my background again. After Jamhuri High School, I was privileged to go to Strathmore College. I did some course in business information technology. And after that, I must say I have quite a bit of a multifaceted academic trajectory or profession, because I have almost 2 undergraduate degrees, 1.5 masters, and 1.5 masters because I did a master's abroad, and again I'm halfway through another one which I don't think I want to finish because it's not in my real interest. I want to go after the money more than more than going back into education. And I was also privileged to have studied abroad in Europe specifically. Not in the UK, but at least I got to know another foreign language. I speak it with 100% fluency. I even do translations and interpretations in congresses in that language and English. And apart from that, I got a good job in an embassy, relatively good job. And I thought that was it. So before mid-2009, the only thing I had between myself and poverty was a 0.426 acres of land in Utawala, Embakasi area, which is something that my dad actually pushed me to buy, because he said, no, you come buy this, and he pushed me, so I ended up buying that plot of land, 0.42, close to half an acre in that area, which is now worth millions, by the way, just for you to know. And so that's the only thing I had. Well, I had a car that I was using then. I had this job. I had my education and my skills, so to speak. But now, between 2009 and before Centonomy, something happened. And this that happened to me is what many of you, if you decide to do this course, may happen to you, which is a click. A click in terms of understanding money, what Ms. Macharia has been telling us all along. A click about what you want really in life and how you can understand money to be able to multiply money with time. That is what happened in 2009. And I must say this because, I did not learn this only in Centonomy. I had had some previous knowledge about money and how money functions. And that is why the day someone sent an email, it was a mass email that was sent to a group that I'm part of, and I looked at the PDF and looked at the cost structure, I knew exactly that is what I wanted. Exactly that is what I wanted. So in 2009, I got that click. I got that click because I was involved in a company that taught me these nitty-gritties about money. And for the first time, I decided I didn't just want to be mediocre. Yeah, I didn't want just to live life and have a good life, but I wanted something measured. I wanted something definitive. Yeah, I started reading books. I've read books by Napoleon Hill, The Think and Grow Rich. I've read The Richest Man in Babylon, William Wallace, T. Harv Eker, The Millionaire Mind. I've read so much. And that is what started shaping me. These same concepts that you hear that Washeke brings out are the product of some of those books. And this is where I want to start. I'll be talking about some of these ideas and maybe concentrating on some of those points. And one is precisely that, reading. The value of reading. I do not want to overestimate or underestimate the value of reading. It is so very important. The amount of stuff, the amount of understanding about lessons that you can learn from reading books is just out of this world. I mean, 10 years of experiential training is summarized in a book that you can read in a month. How wonderful that can be. Another thing I wanted to mention, I'll be talking about these points as they come because I didn't really have a particular structure. At least I'll be following that structure before, during, and after Centonomy. Is about what Washeke mentioned and is going through the slides. And she mentioned about positive thinking, about not concentrating on the complaining bit, not focusing on the government or what is happening around us. And I want to give a small, the other day, last week on Saturday, we had, there was an event taking place here at the National Museums of Kenya. Different embassies were displaying their different cultures and artworks and the like. And after that, I met a friend studying in the USIU, doing a master's there, and I invited her and some other two of our friends to have coffee at the Mug. And even as we went there, they kept on talking about, they didn't have jobs, the three of them. One was doing a master's, and but she was also still trying to get something to do. And they kept complaining about, there are no jobs, or they're not this. And at one point I got fed up, because this is something, again, I'd learned in Centonomy. I mean, why complain? Why spend that 2 hours talking about things that you cannot change? Yeah, you remember the prayer of St. Francis, that prayer that is attributed to this particular saint, that talks about changing the things that you can change, accepting or having the serenity to accept the things that you cannot change. Yeah, rings a bell? That's exactly what you need to focus. You need to focus on those things that work. You need to focus on those things that you can do, not those things that you cannot do and you have no power over. And that's why I changed it. And I'm a very diplomatic person. I wasn't going to now just, but I got fed up and I told them, hey guys, why don't you focus on this other thing? And I started giving them stories. I started telling them, some guys come asking me for jobs or asking me to get contacts about jobs, and I tell them, I remembered one of those instances where someone says, there's no jobs, and when I ask them, okay, how many jobs have you applied to in the last 1 month? And you're amazed when they say 2. Yeah? And they're there complaining that there are no jobs. Umejaribu mbili tu na bado unasema ati, hakuna makazi. So I tell those guys, look here, if you were to apply 100 applications every single day for the period of 1 month, please come back and tell me you haven't got a job. As in 100 on Monday, 100 on Tuesday, 100 on Wednesday. I'm telling you, you'll be bombarded with, calls and interview possibilities. So stop complaining. And alongside that, I mentioned about that click that happened in 2009. I watched something, and I want to talk about this thing that I watched, and some of you will agree with me. It's called The Secret. It's called The Secret. And the very first time I watched this documentary, because it's a style that is a bit different, I'm a Christian, I'm a practicing Christian, and the first time I looked at it, it looked like a bit cultish, a bit, a bit Freemasonry, Illuminati. I mean, that's the first thing that appeared to me, yeah? But later on, as I continued to devour the thoughts that were being presented in that particular documentary, I clicked something. And I started realizing that actually this is a law of life, is a universal law of life. It has nothing to do with your religion, whether you're Buddhist, Islam, Christian, whatever it is. It's a universal law that is based on the law of attraction. That what you focus on, put your energy on, eventually manifests itself to you. That is a law, it's a universal law. Just like gravity will affect you, a Buddhist, you, a Christian, even the stone, it still affects the stone. So it goes beyond your beliefs, your current beliefs. But it is something that I personally believe in, and I would urge you to also try and put into your own life, to apply into your life. The principles of The Secret, the principles of, positive thinking. And alongside that, reading some of those books, and I focus very much on the biographies, because they teach me what other people did. The same journey that someone followed. If you were to learn that, you'd avoid the mistakes they got into and be able to better your life. I've been watching a documentary called The Men Who Built America. I don't know how many of you have watched that documentary. It's an amazing, amazing documentary. Yeah? A series of like 8 CDs that talks about the lives of the people who precisely built America. Vanderbilt, JP Morgan Chase, Henry Ford, all these people. Yeah? And it's amazing what they did. It's amazing the odds they went out and overcame to get to where they are today, where they were at that time, and what they did for America as it was growing. Yeah? And so in 2009, that happened. It was thanks to a number of things. I got involved in this company. I went for some courses, these short courses, and some of these things came to the fore. And one thing I wanted to also to talk about that is something that is, again, very related to what we learn in Centonomy. By the way, I'm talking about these things that I've amassed over time, and what I want to come up with are the elements that coincide with what Centonomy teaches. Yeah, so these things that I talk about are also what comes up and appears in the Centonomy classes. And that thing happened, that click happened. And I remember very clearly that on the 23rd of August 2009, I wrote a financial vision statement. I'll not tell you exactly what it was, but I wrote something down that ideally I'm supposed to leave it in my room and look at it and the like, but sometimes, it's here and it's constantly there. And it was about a financial figure that I wanted to have at the end of the year, about something that I wanted to really to get to. And let me just tell you that between August 2009 and Centonomy, I attended Centonomy, by the way, last year, between May and July. Yeah, so it's like a year since I joined Centonomy. And between 2009 August and 2013 May, the 0.5 acres that I had, I'd amassed something close to 100 acres of land in different parts of Nairobi. I mean, I bought in Kabete, in Kitengela, in Lamu, in Thika, in Naivasha, all those things. Again, I want to connect something because during the courses you learn that it's not just about having different plots of land in different areas and they're not working for you, they're not doing anything for you, or we're not even increasing the value of that piece of land by fencing, by planting trees, by doing something, agriculture or something like that. So this is a task that I'm still a work in progress because in many of those I've not done much. Yeah? But I just wanted to show you just exactly what can happen once you have the click and in a very short time what you can do. And then fast forward to the classes. One of the main things that these classes gave me was this organized, systematic, and concise way of personal financial wealth management and wealth generation techniques. And one of the things that I had clicked, many of us go to courses, we do a BCom, but the courses the academic knowledge that course gives to us is something that is geared to us becoming an accountant so that we can manage other people's companies. Rarely or seldom is it for you yourself to manage your own finances. So this is a difference. The difference about this particular course is that it teaches you how to manage your own personal financial wealth. So managing your own finances, not managing someone else's financing. Yeah? By the way, about that, I am still employed, but I normally say, and I believe that employment is one of the worst forms of wealth generation. And I want to tell you guys that if you're employed, please don't wait to get sacked. Don't wait to retire there. Start with a strategy, an exit strategy. Because I'll tell you the truth, for you to really, think about anyone who's ever gone very far in life. They're not employed. They have their own thing. I'm still employed, but I have a clear exit strategy. I have a clear wealth generation technique and strategy. And actually, I'll tell you, I've tried many things. I've tried quite a number of things, especially between 2009 and now. I've tried my hand into a restaurant. I ran a restaurant for a year that flopped miserably. I have done network marketing, by the way. And by the way, some of these things that I mentioned, people darao things, people darao industries and sectors. And I can assure you, when you read some of these books, when you listen to people like, some of those people in The Secret, Jack Canfield, who's written this amazing book called Chicken Soup for the Soul. When you read some of these things, and some of these people endorse particular kinds of industries, think twice. Because I'm telling you, those things have a great leverage, or can have a great leverage in your life. I've tried Forex. I've tried, I bought land. I have a small school that is really struggling, by the way. I've had enough failures, by the way. I've lost money in the same land deals, but I've made much more money. And I met a lady friend of mine the other day. And we were talking, and one of the things she told me was that the first time, the kind of concept she had about wealth generation was such that when he gets a sizable amount of money, what Ms. Macharia was talking about, buying that German car, buying the latest gadget, that's the concept she had. But she got married to this man who's a very moderate, simple guy, works at Safaricom, but doing many other things, and brought a lot of sense into her life. And started telling her, why, instead, this money that we have, why don't we put it in this business that can generate for us that 10, 15K every month, and from the returns we get, now we can buy that car. What Ms. Macharia was talking about precisely. Yeah? So I don't have much time, and Centonomy taught me that organized way of thinking in terms of money. If only I had attended this course in that 2009, when I was also attending these other things, I would have leapt and even leapt more and more. Right now, after Centonomy, by the way, in Centonomy, you meet up like-minded people who had the same thoughts that I had. Those are the kinds of people that I met. I've made friends, deep friends, through this Centonomy course. And right now, thanks to that, we set up an investment group. It's called Sixth Sense, Sixth, and then the Sense, Ndururu, CENTS. And 11 of us, and we've already started getting to doing things. We started in September, but recently registered the company. We've already bought land. In fact, today I was supposed to have gone to see some land in Konza and some others in Bisil. But my other colleagues left and went there. And so things are happening. Why? Because we were like-minded people who think in the same wavelength. Chris Kirubi gave a talk recently in a church kind of group. I wasn't there, but I was being told. And one of the things he hammered was the fact that you can never do it alone. And that is why when you start up a company, you get people maybe who are not necessarily like-minded, but you get a like-minded partner and start up something. But you need people. You need that leverage that comes from other people. Investment groups. Chris Kirubi was talking about that and hammered that point. He hammered the point that for you to go anywhere far, you need to link up with other people who think and function like you for you to do bigger and better things. So we are just starting, again, thanks to the guidance of Washeke and other players and ourselves and the knowledge that we have and the experience we've amassed also over time. We are going places. This will be another centum, in the making, at least for now. So Chris Kirubi was talking about the fact that what started off as ICDCI, this company, I don't know if it's ICDC or ICDCI, now has become something so big, and it has been thanks to even International House that he co-owns with other people. It's only that he believed so much in those things and continued putting more and more money that eventually he became the majority shareholder. And now they are really his real source of income. Yeah? So there's this joke, well, I don't know whether some of you have seen it, I think it had gone viral some time back, about this Kikuyu millionaire who went to a bank. He owns a Ferrari. I think some of you already know it. So very quickly, he owns a Ferrari, and he was going out for 3 weeks. So he decided to go to the bank and asks for a 5,000 shilling loan. 5,000 shilling loan. So the bank manager is like, he knows this guy. This guy is 5,000 shillings loan. Okay, sawa, that's what you want, and just for a month. And he decided to put his Ferrari as, the security for that loan is his Ferrari. The guy was like, what is this guy thinking about? But eventually, they did that. So the guy, the car was put in the basement in a very secure location. The guy went on holiday for 3 weeks, and he came back. He came back and took his car. He paid an interest of around 200 bob, for that 5,000 that he had borrowed. And the car was safe and sound. There's no other safer place to put your Ferrari than in that bank that has all the security for him. And that was his idea. Yeah? So some of the things that some of these rich people do, think about it and follow up in that. Again, the other day, I remember someone asking me, is it better to have a piece of gold that is worth 1,000 shillings or the 1,000 shilling note? And if you know, gold is actually called a future in forex trading and all that. It's called a future because these are goods that appreciate in time, appreciate in value in time or with time. And precisely that, you'd rather take the gold because in 5 years' time, that gold will be worth how much? Times, a number of times. So it appreciates in value. So those are some of the concepts that we get to learn in Centonomy. That wealth creation is about the accumulation of assets, but not just any assets, of income-generating assets, positive cash flow assets, not flossets like the German cars that only, This is some of the concepts that you learn. And also, we also learn something about money, that money is not showing out. I can come by matatu or boda boda, and I don't care what people think about me being poor or whatever it is, because I know what I've done, what I'm saving, and to use that savings to actually invest more. Yeah? Now, I had many ideas to come up and talk about, but I won't, because of time, I want to end by saying something. And I want to end by actually proposing a program of success. I actually call it, the real way of calling this is, I learned it from a man called Vijay Eshwaran, who's a mogul, multimillionaire, in dollar terms, of course. And this man taught us something that is invaluable, about a program that you can do to save up the rest of your 23 hours in a day, simply by focusing on your mind. Yeah? And he proposes that you do this preferably at the beginning of the day, if possible as early as 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. at least. A time where you can concentrate and think about the rest of your day. And this is what he says. It takes 1 hour. The first 10 minutes, focus on your yesterday. Focus on your yesterday. And what do I mean by focusing on your yesterday? Yeah? I have improved this. I don't do this daily, by the way. It's something that I need to work on also because I need to create it as a habit. Focus on your yesterday. And one of the best ways of focusing on your yesterday is to start by listing down 5 things that you can be grateful about your yesterday. Just list them down. 5 things that you can be grateful about your yesterday. But remember to focus on an all-rounded kind of spectrum. Think beyond just what you're going to do today at work, but think about your family, think about your spirituality, think about those other elements about relationships, and also, of course, about your job or about your money-generating techniques. And then number 3, for the next 10 minutes, do a process of goal setting. And in this goal setting, think about the next 7 days, think about the next 6 months, think about the next 1 year, and come up with deliverables. Remember, you're writing down these things as you think, as you go throughout this process, writing down these things. Yeah? There's a lot of power in writing things down, committing your memory into paper and pen. There's a lot of wisdom in that. So write these things down. Write down the things that you'd want to do in the next 1 week, the things that you'd want to do in the next 6 months, and the things that you'd want to do in the next 1 year. Sometimes I improve this and I go also the next 5 years, because the next 5 years, again, constitutes what, like a vision statement, like a strategy of your life, the way, what you'd want your life to be in 5 years to come. And when you do this, believe you me, in a few months, you'll be able to see very clearly the kind of things that repeat themselves, because you're not necessarily supposed to be referring to the previous day, but the more and more you do these things, the more you're doing this process of goal setting, something becomes very clear in your mind about what you'd want to do for the rest of your life. And that becomes what you can focus on for the rest of your life. Yeah? So 10 minutes yesterday, 10 minutes today, 10 minutes, those 3 subsets, 7 days, 6 months, 1 year, and maybe 5 years. And then read a book. Get a book. For 15 minutes, try and read that book. But for the next 5 minutes, after reading that book, summarize what you've read in that book, just for 5 minutes. Yeah, now we are at the 50-minute mark. For the next 10 minutes, if you're a believer in God or believe in your deity, think about that. Commit those plans to that deity. I'm telling you, if you are to do this, and if you are to do this at a constant time, every single day, you are destined to great success in the future. Yeah? So this is what I wanted to end with. And I want to say, just to summarize, that Centonomy is a great course. When I saw this course, when I saw it on email, I knew this is what I wanted to do. And from the word go, I went with it, and I had a great enthusiasm to do this course. And so it's only natural for you to get into this. I think Washeke is lucky because I don't think they offer something I don't think there's anything else that is offered like this in Kenya right now. Like a school or an institution that does this. Maybe companies will have their own style, but those companies are geared towards making you more productive for their ends, but not more productive, not to give you the skills that you need to become more productive for your own personal wealth, financial management. So this is my take. This is what I would want to urge you, and especially that 1-hour program. If you are to do it every day, this man calls it in the sphere of silence, SOS, in the sphere of silence. But I actually I take the liberty to define it as the secret of success. If you are to do this program every single day, I'm telling you, you are destined for great success. Thank you very much. Santeni sana, and please do the course.